Today it's
What to do?
Here at this point, except-
As far as I know, Deb will be here, Lou will not be here.
Okay, Lou's not be here tonight. Okay, additions to the agenda.
We do have a number of additions. We have number 4 under business and 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 under personnel.
Okay, and need an adoption of the agenda. Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Approve and correct minutes from the August 12th, 2014 regular meeting.
So moved.
A motion from David to approve. A second from Kella. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Financial reports. When we're talking about Max, we would do this after the.
I think, yeah, I have to do
Okay.
the financial and the audit piece, and then I think you jump to business.
Okay, financial reports, July 2014 treasurer's report and monthly balance sheet. Any questions, any additional?
Just a couple things that I mentioned on the monthly expenditure report sheet on page 1, 2, 3. In fact, I think on 2 would be the first one that I would just bring up, the minus 25,928. That was the van that we, for special ed van that we purchased. We are getting reimbursed with that through the WC, or the WCED, West Side Road, because this is solely a special ed van. So that will offset that cost. And then on page 3, you'll see the minus 55,238. That is the workman's comp amount that we paid. In past years, we've done that monthly if we haven't had the cash flow that we wanted to. But this year we do have the cash flow, we're able to pay it, and that gets rid of the service fees that we would normally incur. And it'll show up as a negative until we disperse it to the various places that we've budgeted for, workman's comp for our custodians, workman's comp for our teaching staff, all those. It is budgeted, so it's not a negative amount. Or I should say it is a negative amount, but there are budgeted dollars in our budget for that.
What is the expenditure for, if you didn't pay all at once?
There's some service charges. I didn't check to see how much because we paid, but there is a certain amount. If you pay it installments, there is a service charge that you get charged in addition. So it did save us some dollars by paying that.
I'll make a motion.
A motion from David to approve the financial reports.
Second?
A second by Mark. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Audit approval of bills.
I had the opportunity this morning, or afternoon, one of the two, at noon I came in to review the additional July and August bills. I didn't see anything out of the norm, so I would make a recommendation to approve the bills as written.
Okay, a motion from Mark.
Second.
And a second from David. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. This is where we'll fit next.
I think, Max, you have just a second to do the consent agenda.
We
That
are
won't
going
take
to
very long, hopefully.
skip then to business item number 4.
Okay. And that's under additions.
Well, I spoke 2 weeks ago, or at the last board meeting, talked about a potential opportunity for the Central Minnesota Conference, and it would have been last Wednesday, the 20th, potentially. I think that was the date, but at any rate, we were notified that Rockford is leading the Central Minnesota Conference for the Wright County Conference, and therefore we were invited by a unanimous 7-0 vote from the remaining Central Minnesota Conference schools to join their conference starting in the fall of 2015. I spoke at length about that conference over a period of time, and so now's our opportunity to make that move if that's something that I believe it's a good fit. Just the school board should be aware that we also had a West Central Conference meeting that same day, and Yellow Medicine East, who is leaving our conference, was approved to leave by our conference and approved to stay for girls and boys tennis all in the same meeting. So it's not a guarantee until it happens, but in all likelihood our gymnastics and our dance programs would be able to stay in the West Central Conference, and still our athletes would then have an opportunity to compete for all conference. So it's my recommendation that we would make a move to the Central Minnesota Conference. I don't know if any of you have any additional questions.
Well, with Yellow Medicine leaving the West Central and then us potentially leaving, how does that?
The West Central Conference would then have 8 schools.
Oh, they've excited.
Yeah, there will be 9. There were 10, and then Yellow
Okay.
Medicine East left, leaving 9. The conference has been pretty unstable, and really I don't know that us leaving and them having 8 schools is going to make it any more stable. I can't speak for the other schools, but I could think of a few of them that probably are still looking for other options. It's just such a discrepancy in transportation and size of schools and what they offer.
Gymnastics, don't the other one would still be able to say?
Dance team. Yep.
Have you heard any negative feedback to this proposal from staff, or coaches, or anybody at all, community?
No, I haven't. So it's been in the Paynesville press a number of times, and the only negative thing I heard is from ACGC. Because they'd like to come with us, but the thing is that the schools that are a fit for us in our current conference will still be a fit for us in non-conference contests, which we will still need. So it's not that we're going to discontinue playing ACGC in the programs that they offer. So we'll certainly still do that.
I've heard from 2 coaches, only 2, and they were both for it. They thought this would be a much better fit.
Yeah, there's just I had brought up the gymnastics and the dance team just so everybody's aware that, there would really be no change if we're still in the West Central Conference. But when you take a look at the sports that play multiple times a week, you're talking about a Tuesday night trip to Montevideo and potentially on Thursday going back to Morris, and maybe on Friday you have a home game, but you just had 2 long trips, what that does to your schoolwork and all of those things. Just from the student standpoint, let alone from a fan or a community.
I'll make a motion we approve.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Cheryl. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Okay,
So I do take that you're authorizing us to move forward with this.
correct.
Yes.
Thanks, Max.
Yep.
Okay, consent agenda. Review and consider approval of authorizing Dave Warren to act as the local education agency, our representative in reviewing and filing the elementary site improvement plan as provided under PL 107-110 for school year 2014-15.
This is an annual piece that I brought to the board. It's required by us to have something to do with that. David has been the one that we've authorized in recent years.
Okay, motion by Deb, second by Kella. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Okay, business item number 1, review and consider approval of PSEO tuition agreement between Ridgewater College and Paynesville area schools for the 2014-15 school year.
In the addendum, I've given the board some information on the cost. The cost is $189.76 per credit, and as I mentioned, it's an increase of $640. I certainly am recommending that we do this.
Motion by Deb,
Second.
second by Kella. Any further discussion? And anything from the public? All business items are open to public comment, so if we miss you, make sure you're up there raising your hand. Mark just signaled me that I missed, that I was heading to miss this one. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Business item number 2, review and consider approval of contract for mental health counselor services with True Balance for a budget of $12,960 for the 2014-15 school year.
This is a little bit of a change from what we've done in the past. We've gone through the Recovery Plus, and it's really been called chemical codependency counselor. This really does open up the door, I think, to do more of just the mental health pieces. She can still do some of the chemical pieces, but it really is mental health. The other big advantage for us for this is that although we're budgeting the same amount as last year, by doing it the way that I'm proposing, we also have the ability for that True Balance to charge back to their insurance companies. And we've never had the ability to do that going through the organization we were going through. So in essence, although we're budgeting the same amount, I believe we'll get additional hours of service because they'll charge back to the insurance companies when we can. And then we don't get charged for that, which saves our budget, allows us to help more students. So I think this is a good change. I think what's happening is really Corey and I are kind of working on this piece together. And we really do believe that this is a good move for the district.
The budget allows for the same hours as last year?
We budgeted the same amount of dollars as last year. And again, we'll get more hours because of being able to charge back to the insurance companies when we're able to. And we won't even have to do that. True Balance will do that. So really it won't run through us, they'll do it all. And if they get paid through the insurance companies, then they don't run into our budget. And the budget is still there for us to help. Certainly we need to wait and see how this will all shake out, but if we get additional hours, it may enable us to do a little bit more work in the elementary schools too. We need to see how that's going to shake out, but that's our hope.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A motion by David,
Second.
a second by Cheryl. Any further comments? Anything from the public?
I would add to that, it also opens up Heather to service students. How we have Heather, it's been primarily chemical and at-risk related. This opens up her scope to help students with more things going on that involve the mental health instead of just more of that chemical at-risk piece. So it does open up her scope to work with our students in different areas.
And right now we're keeping Heather still the same console that we've had that we're just extremely happy with. If we get additional hours, we're able to do it within our budget, then we would work through True Balance to possibly have another counselor help out if we're able to do that within the budget.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Okay. Let's see, business item 4 we took care of. So we are now on personnel.
No.
Oh, here we go. Review and discuss policy 514, bullying prohibition policy.
Now, in the exhibit that I gave you, exhibit number 8, what I've done is I've highlighted the changes. And I'm not going to go through every one. Hopefully you've read this in advance. I'm just going to kind of go through a few of the highlights. This is the first reading of the policy, so it'll be on the next agenda for the second reading. So after we go through this, if you get questions or you have concerns or there's community members that come forward with concerns, just bring them forward and we can certainly discuss them at the next meeting. The next meeting, you'll certainly have the option, if you feel comfortable, to vote on it, or we could go for a second reading or a third reading also. So we'll read on that. On page 1, one of the things that they really have talked about in the general statement of policy is they really talked about and clarified not only is it on school property, district property at school functions or activities or school transportation. So it does clarify a little bit of that in 8. And then if you go a little bit further, it does clarify cyberbullying. And that certainly is a big piece that's coming forward now, so there's certainly a need to have that in our bullying policy and how we're gonna deal with things, and you can certainly read that, but it does talk about cyberbullying and adding that to the policy. And if you have any questions, as I go through, just let me know. Like I said, I'm just gonna cover the few highlights with that. On page 2, under F, just when it talks about consequences for students who commit prohibited acts of bullying, it really just talks about using research-based best practices, effective measures in order to stop bullying. That's really what it talks about under number 5. Then under G, again, it talks about bullying, but it talks about reported to the school district. So the school district will act to investigate all complaints of bullying reported to the school district. Sometimes it's assumed that we know what's going on, but it needs to be reported to us so we can deal with it. So that's a piece of the policy that's nice to have in there. The reporting to us is a really important factor. Under the next page, under A, it just talks about bullying, and I think this was great to have a definition of what bullying really is in that policy, because it talks about intimidating, threatening, abusive, harming conduct, objective, offensive, but it actually goes in to say that it's actual or perceived imbalance of power. It doesn't have to be a true balance, it could be a perceived imbalance of power on the part of a student. But at the bottom of number 1, it says conduct is repeated or forms a pattern. And in all my definitions of bullying, that repeated and forms a pattern is a part of a bullying definition. So I'm grateful to have these definitions in here, because it does clarify what is considered to be bullying, those types of things. Then it also gets into cyberbullying. And again, it talks about where it can happen. And it adds school functions, activities, school transportation, school computers, networks, forums, mailing lists, off-school premises to the extent that it is substantially and materially disrupts students' learning or the school environment. So it's good to have those definitions in there. Under C, it talks about immediately means as soon as possible, but no event longer than 24 hours. That's really the reporting piece. That people who see it, witness it, intervene with it, need to report, whether it's a student or a staff member, within that 24-hour window. They really need to report in there, but the 24 hours is for reporting. Then it talks about intimidating, threatening, abusive, or harming conduct means, but is not limited to conduct that does the following. Then it goes through that. I don't think I need to go through that with you. If we go to the next page, E does talk about the scope of this. And I do have a little bit of concerns, but this is what the legislators intended for this. If you look down at the bottom where it says school district property also may need, now there is a may in there, but it does expand this quite a bit when it says a student's walking route to or from school for purposes of attending school or school-related functions, activities, or events. While prohibiting bullying at these locations and events, the school district does not represent that it will provide supervision. So it doesn't say we have to provide supervision for that. But in essence, if bullying is taking place in those areas, we will need to deal with it by our own policy and state statute. Then it talks about remedial response, and you can read through that. Reporting procedures, it just clarifies some of that at the bottom of C, under 4. And it talks about the fact that if the complaint involves the building report taker, the complaint shall be made or filed with the superintendent. In other words, if I'm the one that the complaint is about, that I'm bullying somebody, for instance, if it was me, then they would have to probably go to the school board, which would decide then and set up a way to do an investigation, because I'm the one that's involved. So if it would involve a staff member, we wouldn't want them doing the investigation. We'd want somebody outside of the mix doing the investigation. Could be a private party, could be me as a superintendent. If you get over to D then, again under 4, top it says provide information about available community resources, so we need to provide that type of information. D goes, it's about anybody not reporting is subject to disciplinary action. So for instance, if a staff member sees it, but does nothing, just ignores it, and doesn't report anything, they could be subjected to disciplinary action, but it would depend on the situation, how it happened. Certainly, investigation would take place. If you go down to school district actions then, it says, says within 3 school days of the receipt of the complaint or report to bullying or other prohibited conduct, then it talks about really that we'll do an investigation and start that within the 3-day window. But those are school days, and I did check with MSB that was the intent of the law. So that part just clarifies a number of items. If you go then into retaliation, number 6, again, it's just not going to let any reprisals or any retaliation take place, and if that happens, certainly disciplinary actions against either a student or a staff member will take place. Under training and education, it really talks about that we need to let people know about this policy, that we have to inform them, that we have to discuss it with our personnel. And that certainly happens these first 3 days of school, or with staff just coming in. The bully policy will be discussed with our principals, with our staff. But it also talks about volunteers and a number of other things, so it is expanding on people that we should be making sure that they have an understanding of the policy. And really the biggest piece with the bully policy is that, number one, if they see it, they need to intervene, and then they need to report. And then the administrator or a staff member that's in charge would do an investigation to check that out. And that we need to, if you go down to C, it talks about the school district annually will provide education and information to students regarding that. So we need to do that on an annual basis. And if you go to the next page, again, it just talks about that we need to monitor it and adjust it. So if things aren't going the way that they need to be, we need to review the programs that we have put in place, the trainings that we have put in place. And you can, again, go through all of this about what that all means. Down at the bottom, G, it says the school district shall inform affected students and their parents of rights they may have under state and federal data. I mean, it's providing the parents of both the victim and the one that's doing the bullying that as much information as we can provide without going in violating the data privacy pieces. So we still do have data privacy that we do need to follow through with. And then under notice, it just talks about the school district will give annual notice of the policy to students, parents, or guardians, and staff. And this policy shall appear in student handbook. So once we do this, in the future, the policy will be in the student handbooks. And an electronic version is not good enough. Okay, we can post it electronically, that certainly will help, but we're going to have those policies in the student handbooks. And that this policy must be given to each school employee and independent contractor who regularly interacts with students. And we do have to provide an electronic format in addition. And the reason that doesn't suffice for all of them is because not everybody has the ability to get to an electronic format. But we still need to provide it, so it'll be on the website so that people can pull it. And then it just talks about some of the legal references. Questions on this? This is based off of the MSBA's model policy with changes to it. That's what this is based off of. And other than adding a clarification on school days, because I wanted to make sure that the 3, that we knew that it was 3 school days, that's the only addition that's been put on the policy so far.
We talked about in committee that we were gonna make sure that Bob created the paper trail to follow all these for a period of time, so.
Documentation will be
that
very
all in
important.
place, yeah. That was a concern of his there. Any other discussion on this? Okay, then we'll.
It's
move on
just,
and we'll read it
it's
next
just the
time.
first reading, so unless the community has
Anybody
any
from the
questions.
public got a comment? And like Bob said, we're open to comments, so it's quite an interesting read, especially for some of you who are active within the district. I'd take a good look at that, and if you see something
And it's all based on, when I called MSBA to get a few clarifications, it is based on the state statute. These are things that need to be included in that policy.
Okay, so then we'll move to personnel. Number one, review and consider approval of temporarily adding 1.5 hours per student contact day to food elementary food service effective August 27, 2014 through January 1st, 2015. And assignment, looks like 3 positions.
Yeah,
Two
and
that are filled.
this has kind of been an annual thing. I brought this back. I think this is probably the 3rd time. I still don't have a grip on the need, and I still do want to bring in somebody that has some experience in food service, just to look at our program, to say, are we doing things absolutely right, or are there better ways to do things? So until I get a good answer in my own mind on what we truly need, I would prefer to keep it temporary. I know it is bringing it back to the board each time, but I would rather do that and do it as a temporary basis, make sure that we're set that this is really what we want to do, rather than make it a permanent piece and then have to try to go through the issue of rescinding that.
But you are looking for approval now.
I am looking for approval for this right now until we get more of a clarification in my own mind, exactly what we need, and are we doing everything as efficiently as we can?
Motion by David, second by Deb. Any further discussion?
How long do you figure it'll take to, I mean, this is the second year, so how?
It is. I'm hoping this year, I have not had a chance to have a lot of contact with the head of food service from Macquarie, but I have mentioned to my head cooks that that's what I'd like to bring in, if she's willing, and I have indications that she will be, to come in and just do some consultation with us. It was too much of a job for her to actually take more of a role, but I'd like to bring her in where she can sit down with us, talk about how we're doing things as the 2 head cooks and Eileen, and then have her come in and actually observe a little bit and see how our kitchens run. So I'm hoping this will be the last time. I'll either come back to the board with, we want to make this permanent in January, or we'll say, no, we're going to do something different. I don't disagree. I just until I get something set that we're doing things as effectively as we can, I just felt like I needed to come back one more time.
More discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Passed. Review and consider approval of Brenda Lyle, middle high school administrative assistant, effective September 8th, 2014.
Just filling a resignation.
A motion by Mark, second by Kella. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Okay, number 3, review and consider approval to hire Brenda Bagley for special education route for approximately 3.75 hours per day effective September 2nd, 2014.
Self-explanatory, I need to have a van driver for special ed.
So moved.
Okay, a motion by Deb, a second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Review and consider approval to hire Priscilla Laubach for special education route for approximately 4.7 hours, 75 hours per day effective September 2nd, 2014.
So moved.
Motion by Mark. Second by Kella. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Review and consider approval to hire Jacqueline Gruber as a PAWS program assistant to average up to 7.25 hours per week at $10 per hour effective September 2nd, 2014. A motion by Deb,
Second.
second by Cheryl. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Review and consider approval to hire Julie Smith as a PAWS program assistant to average up to 7.25 hours per week at $10 per hour effective September 2nd, 2014. A motion by David, a second by Deb. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Review and consider approval of resignation of Christine Cadet, school nurse effective September 23rd, 2014.
Can't say I'm real happy about this one. I'd still recommend that we approve.
Motion by Deb, second by Kella. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Okay, then we are on informational reports. Lori Flora, secondary school principal, comes to the microphone.
Good evening. It's been a busy day. We started teacher workshops today and really started them off with a bang. Staff really enjoyed our speaker that we had today, both in his delivery, which was fun, but also really truly believe in the message that he brought, which was acknowledging, honoring, and engaging our students. And it plays into one of our building goals, which I think even strengthens that goal in engaging with our students in the advisory program. So I'm excited to kick off the year with kind of lighting the flame there and moving on with what we've started. So they all were very appreciative of being able to start the day like that. So that was fun. We also did some training with our new copying system, and they left feeling very okay. You know, it is a big change, and I'm sure there'll be some bumps in the road, but I think we're off to a good start. Bob joined us for both of, I think, those trainings, so that was good. Then we'd had quite a few small group meetings. You may or may not be aware our JMC, which is our student database program, did switch over from home-based servers to a web-based system. And there are some differences in the program, but I heard very few what's going on, et cetera. So the teachers on their gradebook side, it's making sense, and they're kind of moving through learning the new program as well. So there's a few changes this year as we're getting ready for the school year, so that's all been good. One thing is our Honors English program. We did make some changes this year. We went with Fond du Lac Community College for our English writing program, and then it'll be the literature program next year from Central Lakes. One of the reasons we found was we were only getting about a 70% transfer rate as the core English elective for colleges across the state. When you look at U of M, UMD, St. Cloud State. Fond du Lac sponsors the rest of our college programs for the most part, and we found theirs is 100%. It does transfer as the core English credit for U of M, St. Cloud State, UMD, NDSU, and so we feel very confident with that. Along with that change, instead of getting 4 credits, they will be getting 6 credits. They'll be getting a college writing 3 credits first semester, and then just like a college program, this one won't go over the year. They will get a second 3-credit college course, advanced college writing, the second semester. So we're real excited about that. I think Ms. Davey is going to be kind of talking with her students, showing how it changes, how they can use a website to look at the colleges they're looking at going to, and seeing, you know, the transfer of it, and also doing a little financial tidbit on, oh, by the way, you're going to be working really hard, but look at how you're preparing yourself for the years to come, and financially how that's going to make a difference for you going on into college. So excited about that. Wednesday, tomorrow is our open house, so we're excited to welcome our students back again. You know, we had quite a few bodies in the building for registration. And our staff is going to be wearing our Bulldog green colors to welcome them back, so we're excited about that. So join us if you're in the building. And with that, we're fine-tuning some scheduling things, so when we print off the new set of schedules for Tuesday morning, we're ready to go. Any questions that the board might have? And thank you again for our hiring of Brenda Lai. It'll be nice to be staffed again in the central office. So Cassandra Olmscheid started last Monday, and she's off and running, so she'll be a great asset to us as we move on.
This week I had some questions on the college credits, and you sent me a beautiful sheet about the college credits. Can you get that to everybody else
Yeah,
here?
yep, I can certainly do that, and
All itemized, very nicely done.
yeah, and the other thing I do plan to do with being a little short-staffed this week at the start of school, I wasn't ready to do it this week, but in September, I will also be showing the board that website to show you how students can, and we're going to be showing it to all our juniors and seniors this year, is how they can plug in what college classes they're taking, if it's macro or calculus or whatnot, and how it will transfer to the different colleges across the state. Now, does it show every single college? No, but it gives you a really good feel for the colleges around us. The other thing, tentatively, if you would like to mark your calendars, and I can send this over to Bob to let you know, but if you would like to stop in Friday, and I'll give you the specific time, our advanced biology class, which is our Project Lead the Way class, will be starting off with the crime scene. And that's kind of what the whole class is based on, is students collecting evidence from this crime scene. And then throughout the year, they'll be working with the different body systems, finding out information from that, and then at the end of the year, they have to figure out how this person died.
And I'm assuming that's a week from this Friday?
A week from this Friday, yes, not this Friday, a week from this Friday. So Jesse, Mr. Rasmussen was going to let me know for sure, so I thought I'd pass that on. I think it sounds like it'll be an interesting class, so if you'd like to stop in, or anytime, I was gonna kind of let Bob know some different times, so if you'd like to come visit.
It'd be nice to have that college credit piece so we can share that with the community
Yep.
at the next board meeting also.
That's what my plan was. Okay. All right, thank you
And
very
a couple
much.
dates would be good too. We're struggling with that a little bit with the open meeting laws to make sure a bunch of us aren't showing up at the same place all the
Oh,
time. 'Cause
yes.
it appears.
Right.
So.
So I'll
a
get
couple
this
of
one
meeting
out
dates
and
or a
it
couple
may
of-
be,
Well, there may be a couple
Yeah.
times during the day, so.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
We could have a-
So we'll
a
kind of
sign-up
give
sheet
you
for that.
kind of some heads up, and I'll let you guys email, see who's coming and who can make it. All right?
Great,
Thank you.
thanks. Well, Mr. Superintendent, you are next on the
Okay.
list.
Just a few things on transportation contract, we're continuing to work on that. We sent the transportation company some information, we're waiting for them to respond back a little bit. And once that happens, then I would guess that we would set up some negotiation meetings with the transportation company. I thought the first day just started off terrifically. I thought the speaker did just a fantastic job. We had a couple board members that were there that had an opportunity to hear it, and I think that it was a great way to start the year. We're still putting in place the system that will allow parents to use credit cards to pay for lunches. I don't think we'll have it quite set up by open house, but hopefully as the school year starts, we'll get information out to the parents on how to use that. We do that in the school reach in a number of different ways to let them know that it's starting up. We're starting to get information on the state testing. We will bring Don in for a nice presentation once we get more of the information. We didn't get as much information we wanted on the science test scores and stuff. We did really well in some areas, and like always, there's areas that we need to look at, analyze, and look at for some improvement. But we'll do a real nice presentation to the board and the community on that as soon as we get as much information as we want to have for that, but it shouldn't be too long. That information is starting to come on. Let me know if any board members are interested in applying for the All-State School Board. I got the forms and all that, so if there's an interest of part of any of the school board members, let me know and we can get the forms filled out. I'll be setting up a number of community meetings. I'll try to have an article written to be in next Wednesday's paper that will set those dates up. You'll probably get an email from me just saying, because I'll want some board members there letting me know in advance of that article that meetings are on this day and at this time. So that we give our community the opportunity to ask questions about the facility project. So I'll be setting up those. I'll also be setting up a meeting with our Lions Club and other organizations just to provide them with information. And I'll let the board be aware of that, so if a board member wants to accompany, again, the stance is that I can provide, the school district can provide information. That's what we can do. And my stance is that I certainly want everybody, no matter what they decide on our facility project, to have all the information that they need to make an informed decision before they vote. Still in the process of filling a couple food service positions, just because there's been a domino type effect because of hiring Lori as the head cook, so we're looking at that in a resignation, so those interviews will be coming up. Just an FYI, as far as food service, we've had a number of things that have whittled down our food service reserve fund. We had a freezer go out last year that we paid for. We had a dishwasher go out for about almost almost $30,000 go out this year that we need to replace. There were some things in the elementary school that came to about almost $5,000 that we just bought. So our reserve fund there is down just about $12,000. So we'll be really careful with that budget, but these were all things that we needed to replace. We just didn't have an option for it. Volleyball game tonight. And the other piece is that one of my goals certainly will be to do more walkthroughs on the staff. And when I do that, I'm going to invite board members to accompany me. I'll probably deal with that myself as far as open meeting. I'll just probably call 2 board members and say, you want to come with me and walk through the building? We're just going to take a half an hour and walk through some classes. I think it would be a real great thing for you to see the fantastic things that are happening every day in this building and the elementary building for our students by our staff. That's what I got.
Okay, anything else? Nothing else? Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mark, second by Cheryl. No discussion, I'm assuming. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no.